Now, dear learners, today is going to be my last class with you. So, mainly, I think whatever I have tried to make you understand, you have grasped it. Okay, the last part that I had left purposefully for you because there were things more necessary to be taught. Those parts I had covered initially. Now, this is just an extension that I'm going to do with you today. Just an extension of how, English language came in India, how it assimilated, how it got absorbed, how we people accepted it. All those things we are going to deal with today. Okay. So you can say in a way this will be a kind of winding up of our classes. Um, students, uh, I think this block is most probably fifth block. Most probably, you can check. It talks about the problems of teaching and learning of English literature. Okay, please see. Okay, actually, we are going to mainly with Teli. Tele. Tele means teaching of English literature in India. So, continuously I have been telling you from my initial classes that English is little difficult, or in a way it is difficult, and in a way it is very handy for us to use. It has got both pros and cons, because in the sense, as far as its disadvantages are concerned, it is completely a different language, alien language, and we took so much of time to get it. And now also, if we are studying it, you can see you people are all doing MEG in English. You have taken up your master's courses. You must also be finding it very difficult. Okay, while studying, you have to grasp, you have to understand. Firstly, you have to understand, interpret the language properly. Okay, so we all had tough time studying this subject. Okay, so similarly, it is difficult for us. It is completely different. Culturally, phonetically, linguistically, everything is different. So we have to struggle very hard in order to acquire mastery over it. Okay, you must now also be facing the same problem, same difficulties while studying English, both languages and literature. Okay, these are the this is the basic problem. Okay, because it is structurally very rich, so we have to be very well versed with its structures, which takes us long time to master over it. Okay, now the benefit is that I have already told you that we are multilingual country. Languages are so varied. So when this language comes in our country, to some extent it binds us because it is a global language also. Hmm. It is a global language also. It is the language of science and technology. So we have to read it. Irrespective of whichever stream you are in, you have to read it. Okay, because you need to understand the global technical scenario, the scientific scenario. Okay, so in a way you can say it is the language that binds us. So we are, after all, studying it, isn't it? After every branches are studying it. So suppose we people gather from different states, so we can use language easily to English to interact easily. Okay, and as it is a global language, it is to some extent learned by every educated youth, every educated mass. Okay, so that helps us in our further interactions. Are you getting it? What I'm trying to say? So we are multilingual. Instead of talking in or finding difficulty in talking each other's languages, we just switch over to English. Okay, so in a way, it is helpful for us when we are interacting within our nation also. Okay, now we will see some difficulties faced by English teachers while teaching and learning English. Okay, we have the how literature helps us develop our language skills and vice versa. that we will see. What are the difficulties during the study, that we will see. Okay. Sure. Yes, let me introduce this part with you. The introductory thing will lead to the idea of the difficulties that we as teachers of English face during our classes, and sometimes students also face certain amount of problems. Okay, so here it says that nowadays, if you talk about the contemporary time, you will see that people of every position have to study English. You take for example, if you are at advertising, you need to have a good understanding of English. Okay, suppose you are a political person, so in order to interact, in order to communicate, you have to be very well versed in English. Okay, and suppose if you want to prove certain position in the society, in an informal condition, if you want to make friends with people of good society, with high society, then also you have to learn some skills in English so that you can interact and you can impress upon people. Okay, now uh, this is just not it. There are many other reasons why our parents prefer us to teach English. Okay, sometimes our parents force us to admit ourselves to English medium schools. They feel that English medium schools, public schools, could help us enhance, boost our personality and communication skills in English. So what do? They enroll us into English medium schools or public schools. Now, another thing you must understand that it helps us to uh, you know um, uh, uh, include ourselves in the elite class of the society. We are able to communicate properly with people overseas, so on and so forth. But if you take it from the gendered point of view, there are many parents who prefer their girl children to enroll themselves into English medium schools. Why? Because these parents feel that learning English for the girl child will be a kind of passport to the foreign countries. How? Through marriage. Okay, so I think in my earlier classes also I told you that during 1970s onwards, we got globalization. Our government opened up to global transactions in business, transactions in education. Okay, transaction in exchange of ideas, and from there I was discussing about diaspora studies. The diaspora studies developed, isn't it? I have told you that now, when globalization started, then we got job facilities abroad. Okay, we got business facilities abroad. We got good what you make it, say holidays, vacationing also got better because of the opening up of western countries for us. They came into our country. They also saw how exotic and culturally rich our place was. Anyhow, this is a different thing. But suppose our boys started going abroad. Okay, suppose my son goes to the US to do job, so obviously he will require a wife after certain time spending in the US. So obviously he will search for an Indian bride. So we have to take for him an Indian bride to the US. So what happens? This girl, the time she's born and the time she starts going to school, the parents prefer her to go to public schools, so that she is well versed in English, so that when she when her marriageable age comes, she could be exported to a foreign country, so that she could have also a good lifestyle abroad. Okay, so this is the gendered way of transmission of English to our coming generations. Okay, generation after generation. So you can see that this is how English is also understood by Indian people as a gateway to the European countries, as a gateway to the US, Australia, Canada, whatever you say, through marriage. So English for women, for girls, is to some extent considered as a passport to foreign countries. If she is well versed in English, so she may get a groom who can easily take her to some first world country, so that she could also enjoy some status abroad. All right. Now, um now this particular unit is quite a repetition of the previous thing. Again, it has actually it is trying to create a sort of awareness for us. Okay, so here it says that although English is important, but we should retain our own mother tongue. Here he says that there are many people who are so much obsessed with English and English speaking that they make it compulsory. We were discussing also with you people. I had a discussion also that some parents make it compulsory to speak in English at home. Okay, so that is well and good as far as English communication skill and the development of that is concerned. But what is happening simultaneously? Our own culture is getting a back seat. We are neglecting our own culture, we are neglecting our own mother tongue. Okay, we don't respect our mother tongue, so in a way we get distracted, and we do not live remaining intact to our roots. We change, we just forget what our roots are. Okay, and that is our culture and the transmission of our culture is concerned, so this has to be checked. Okay, now you will see that Mm, in my initial classes, I spoke about Gandhi and how, Gandhi not only spoke about, initially he spoke about English and understanding their language. Through that language, we can understand their culture. Okay. But also he talked about the other pole of our linguistic, the culture of our language. That is getting back to our own language. So he also gave emphasis on the own loving and developing and emphasizing upon his language. So in your material also you will find out that Gandhi has written a book called Young India. Okay, it was published in 1921. And here, yeah, it says because Gandhi had written this book when he was already 80 years old, when he had got quite an experience of life, of culture, of how language impacts a culture. He is very well, he has understood it very well by that time at the age of 80. So he is pointing out that why are we as Indians reading English? He is actually giving some aims, some objectives to the Indians who are reading and learning objectives. Especially, you can see he is giving some tips to the teaching of English in India. Actually, okay, and I think this should be read. Young India should be read by each and every English teacher. If you are into teaching, then learners, please do take up this book, Young India. I think PDF is also available of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. You can just read it. You will see, you will find means, ways of teaching English in India. Okay. Now, but Gandhi has given certain tips, but teaching in India is not that easy. Okay, if you are an English teacher, then you must have faced thousands and thousands of difficulties, especially if you are school teachers. Okay, then no one might have faced as many difficulties as you have. If you are teaching at the basic levels, you are teaching students the new words, so you must have faced lots and lots of problems. So for that, Gandhi is giving certain tips for those teaching professionals who teach English in India. Okay, but we are in a problem of teaching English from the starting of the education policy by Macaulay in 1835. In his book, his minute actually, it introduced English in India, and it also introduced certain problems also that every time Indians will be facing while they'll be studying English in India. Okay, so in his minute of 1835, he speaks about education, isn't it? And then he says that we English people, we will encourage you Indian people to speak in English. Okay, and we will not support you to study Arabic or Sanskrit. Okay, see how colonial minded also they are, also at the same time. But here I'm talking about our education and education related policies. Okay. Now, this is the other thing that, Macaulay is trying to take our culture, give our culture a little backseat, and he talks about, propagating English, especially in the post-colonial countries. Okay, if you see from post-colonial point of view, you can see the disturbances of language when English is imposed upon us by Macaulay. Okay, starting from 1835. So he says, no, we won't give support to the study of Arabic or Sanskrit in India, whereas we will support you if you read English. Okay, now, what is Gandhi saying in Young India? He is making a critical inquiry about what Macaulay had said. Okay, so he is raising certain question to Macaulay's policy. Macaulay had introduced English in India, and Gandhi in his book is making a critical inquiry about the colonial policy that was introduced by Macaulay. Okay, so um, the book also, you can see that is not only relevant as an answer, or as an inquiry to Macaulay's education policy, but also Gandhi's certain pertinent question is very important to the post-colonial India as well. Okay, now what he says, he talks about the uh, the historical, he talks about the cultural, he talks about the political forces that brought English to India. Okay, and what are the forces that encouraged English as a medium of instruction? Okay, and why English literature is included in the curriculum of higher education? What is the need that we have to see here, that we have to consider? Why do we read English literature in our universities? Why are you being taught, okay, English literature? We just know we need to learn language in order to interact. But why is this literature compulsory for us? Why we students are reading those English literature in our universities? Okay, now see, initially three universities were established. Okay, in 1856. Alright, and why did they introduce these three universities? Mainly to mainly to encourage Indians to study the colonizers' language and nothing else. Okay, and the universities were built only for the elite class. Okay, if you are Indian, you won't be admitted. But if you are an Indian elite class, then you may be admitted in the university. If you are not elite class, there's no admission for you. Okay, see, it was so partial, it was so biased, so prejudiced. Okay, and also if you're in English class, and you have to have little bit or a lot of British minded attitude. Okay, means you should favor British culture, you should favor British lifestyle, you should have a love, or you should have a British taste, then only you will get admitted into. um, the, they actually, British did not want to spend much of their money after our education, so very selectively they opened just three universities. in order to be very minimal in the expenditures regarding the education in India. Okay, and then they also needed at the same time one class of Indian society, okay, who will be able to interpret the languages of thousands of these Indian people to the English speaking people. Are you getting it? This was the idea of Macaulay. Macaulay introduced English in India to not to make us babus. Okay, he introduced English in India not to make us elite class. No, he introduced English in India and he made it compulsory so that those British people would be able to interact with us. We had multiple languages, and those British people were so confused to speak in those different tongues. Okay, so they imposed English on us so that only we will try to understand this, so that we will only be able to interact. Means English was given to us that much only, which will keep us only middle class. Okay, it won't help us to go to higher class. All right. So if you see, when universities were established, particularly these three universities, then and English and Indian students were also allowed. It was, mainly to create a division between elite class Indians with the rest of the Indian society. Now, learners, if you have any problem with this, please do ask me. I will stop and I will explain to you properly if you're not able to understand, because this is very important. Are you understanding, learners? Are you understanding, Maitri?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay. All right. See, this is important. Okay, and you need to grasp it properly. So, when I was, yes, when these three universities were established, then that there was a purpose also, and there was a notorious purpose. What they wanted to do, they wanted to divide our society into two major fragments. Okay, in terms of linguistic, what do you say, boundaries. Okay, means purposefully to one class of society they did not give much depth in English. Okay, they were neglected, but these university going people were taught proper English, and they were tested also that if these elites have a little bit of British taste or not, if they have a little bit British inclination or not. Okay, and now these Indians, elite Indians, those who were to a large extent had a servile attitude towards British, many of them, they went to these universities, and they also emerged as a very high and elite English speaking class Indians. Okay, and you can see that this power of language was only uh, limited to this class of people who were Indian university educated people. Okay, so this educated English educated class, they were a little bit of segregated class. They remained separate. Just like I was telling you, in Britain during Victorian period, they had high class and low class division, aristocracy, and so these educated, some of them, and also for some time, because when protests came, all of them fought hand to hand. But initially, the society was divided into this kind of division. Okay, they were English educated class people. Okay, they were quite different and selected out from the general middle class and the low class masses. All right, now this minute of 1835, minute on education, uh, they did not speak much on the primary education. All right, primary education or imposing English in primary education was not enforced. Okay, but English was enforced, and English literature was enforced in the universities. Okay, they said that this literature have got universal values. Whatever stream you take up, English literature will help you, because English literature, by English literature I mean here only British literature. British literature has got universal value. Okay, if you read this literature, you will be able to understand anything, any other stream of studies and knowledge. So, with this idea, they imposed English literature education. So, this is how English literature landed in our country. Are you getting it,
Yes, ma'am.
learners?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so this is how, yeah, English literature arrived. Till today, I was talking about language, 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 and language. Today, you see how literature came only after the introduction of universities in India. Okay, that too in around 1856. Okay, now, yes, this is how English literature started in India, and you see that with this establishment of universities, with the establishment of English speaking class that came out of the universities, now you can see a real barrier between this university going students and between the rest of the mass. Okay, so this now through this, the whole Indians came face to face with the social reality. Okay, social reality, the division they understood. All right. So in his book, Gandhi has written, Young India, the English medium created an impassable barrier. So see, it was Gandhi who again and again sensitized people against the division that was purposefully being created by the British. He's saying so he became a threat. Not only he's speaking about language, but he's also talking about the power imbalances. Okay, so what he says in his book, the English medium created an impassable barrier between me and the members of my family. Okay, who had not gone through English schools. I was fast becoming a stranger in my own home. I suddenly became a superior person. Even my dress began to undergo imperceptible changes. So he is talking about whom? To those few English speaking Indians who had gone to universities. So he's creating awareness. How should these Indian who have studied in universities feel that they are getting anglicized? Okay, they are becoming British in their behavior. But can this be the real British? No, this is mimicry. This is just copying from them. This is no real Britishness. So this was, this kind of awareness was created by Gandhi. He said that you are behaving like British, you are not British, you are Indian. Try to come down to your roots. You are flying far. Same kind of thing happened with Gandhi also. Okay, personally, because if you have seen learners, some of Gandhi's portraits, you must have seen the young Gandhi, used to wear coat, tie, and those Western clothes, pants and shoes. Okay, so during his younger days when he came back from England after his studies as barrister, so, for so many years he was very much impressed by the British style. Okay, so it is said that at home also he always asked his children to wear shoes, just like British people. Okay, he was also for many years very much fascinated by the British lifestyle. But later, you can say that after he came from South Africa and time after that, um, later gradually, I can't exactly tell you the timeline, but when he became very much sensitive about India's freedom and what India was going through, because he started with the movement, and he said that you just discard those foreign made clothes is hampering your own small scale and cottage industries. Try to make your own clothes and wear them. So when he started with this Swadeshi movement, okay, uh, uh, when he became aware, he became aware, and as a result, he started these kinds of movements. He became aware of his own culture, of his own roots. Okay, he understood that this is not this British dress, British lifestyle is not ours. Okay, it is European, and it is the dress, the attitude of the colonizers. Okay, they are being dressed like that and they are suppressing us. Why should we imitate them? Uh, Okay, we already have our rich culture. We already have our rich tradition. We have our rich thoughts. So why not go into that? So after that, he just discarded Western clothing. He discarded admiration of Western culture. Though he always says that he loved the language, he loved English language, but he doesn't blindly follow their lifestyle. Okay, despite the fact that he loved English language, he instigated people to write, to express, to be vocal in their own language. Okay, to keep themselves rooted to one language. So this was the awareness created by Gandhi. Okay, because once he was also a victim of such kind of illusions, British illusions. Okay, he was also dressing like them, but he discarded and he just came to the loin cloth, just with a meager dhoti. Okay, and he thought through that simple dhoti clad thin old man, you can understand the reason, the symbol behind his dressing. Not only simplicity is our culture, but our dressing is different. Our dressing replicates our culture. So we have to be very much rooted with our culture. Okay. And your dressing, your outlook will be a replica of what you represent. So you are an Indian, represent your own culture, not others' culture. And especially though that culture whose people are coming and dominating you, they are exploiting you. They're exploiting your resources. They're exploiting your human resource. They're exploiting your natural resource. They're looting away your things. They're taking away. You're impressed by them. So this was the awareness he created. So this university mass, those who came out as university graduates, they understood what he's saying. Okay, they understood. So although it was a social reality sometime during those days, but very soon an awareness, started sweeping in our country. But you can see in post-colonial and India, again we are seeing that same kind of social division is pertaining. Okay, when one class of our society, elite class, is very well versed in English, trying to prove themselves superior to others. On the other hand, the rural class people, the modest people, they who do not get proper education in English, they feel themselves little bit subsided, or they feel themselves to be at the periphery of the society. So again, that same feeling is coming back gradually in the contemporary times. And again, we have to, as academics, we have to create awareness that though we teach English, it is a subject, it is not our language. Okay, this is the subject that we are dealing with, it is not our language, this is not our culture. Okay, now but see, whatever happened, so many changes happened. Uh, uh, an elite class is getting introduced year by those public schools. You can see young people are very much bent towards uh, now our you have in our conversation, but
Ma'am, your voice is breaking. Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
as
Madam,
till today. Is it for
you're not
everyone?
clearly
My voice
audible.
is breaking. Is it all right now?
Yes, ma'am,
I'm
this is
not
not
audible.
audible.
Okay, listen.
Ma'am, you are audible. Ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, then what should I do? So somebody is saying I'm
Now,
not
now it's
audible. Others are
audible.
saying
Ma'am, I think maybe they
now.
will have some glitch in their internet.
Okay. Now, if I'm still not audible, let me know. I will log out and then I'll log in. Maybe that will be better. But if I'm
No,
No,
audible,
ma'am,
no,
it's okay
ma'am, you are
now.
audible. You are audible.
oh, okay. Then let me continue. Uh, where I was. Okay. Yeah. Uh, I was talking about how English came, English literature particularly came into the Indian academia. Okay. Now, let me go a little ahead. Okay, so here we see, I have already told you that in your unit also it is there. It is a kind of English choices of studying also to some extent is gendered, isn't it? First of all, and I have already told you if you want to get married abroad, then you can very well learn English and you will get a good NRI bride groom for yourself. But secondly, you can also see that those who take specialization in English year after year, I also have observed this, they're mostly ladies, mostly women, mostly girls, they are taking up English as studies in India. Okay, and you can call it that it is a gender choice. uh, so you can see girls and women are more in these departments
Thing
with
again.
respect to
The person break.
yeah, again it is breaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me. Okay, then I'm doing one thing. I'm logging out and then I will log in. Then let me know if it is all right or not.
Okay, ma'am.
But you stay.
Yes, ma'am.
You stay. You don't leave. Okay, now tell me if I'm audible. And if I'm
Yes, ma'am.
still not audible, then I cannot help. There must be some problem with the connectivity. Mm, Okay,
You are
okay.
Audible.
Now, this breaking really disturbs the whole flow of teaching. Anyway, so you can see that there are mostly girls and women in English department. Okay, so we can say that English literature is a very sensitive study of culture, of sensitive thoughts. Okay, so maybe ladies and women who are more sensitive, emotional, so English literature goes with girls and women better than boys. But men of this in this class do not take it as prejudice. This is what is there in your material, and this is what our experience also says, that mainly women and girl go into this literature studies. Okay, now let me move ahead. So whatever you saw here, you see that uh, till today you cannot deny the fact that English is very much important as a stream of study in India. Okay, now in colonial period, they had very selectively they gave English learning to proper English learning to certain class of people in our society. Others were neglected. Okay, now, but later Gandhi brought a little bit awareness, but still in the post-colonial era, you can see again English is gaining momentum, and again, people are preferring to study English in order to feel that they are a little bit higher in their society. So this is just a feeling. Okay. Uh, English, if you speak as a global language, then you can see that after globalization also, you see that there is a flux. There is a rise in the still more rise, more rise in the market value of English honor students, because English honor students, they have different kind of personality. They easily move with their English speaking and writing skills. They move to different countries for their material benefits. Okay, so you can see that still the scope of English studies in India is rising. Okay, it is rising. There is no, you can't find any fall, but you can see a high rise in each decade in India. Okay, so this shows that if you are studying English, you are a student of English language and literature, so you won't go unemployed. You won't go penniless. Okay, you will earn at least if you have a meager knowledge of English. Okay, now we will talk about Tele. Tele is teaching of English literature in India. We'll see from from the uh, colonial period, we have seen how English literature uh, got itself established in India. Now we'll see how it developed. Okay, little bit of history, yeah, of English teaching in India, literature teaching. Okay, now you can see that there are so many teachers around our country who are teaching very proficiently. They are teaching English in India, and so many teachers, professors, they are teaching in different universities. Okay, now we will see how in literature teaching is conceived in India, and what are the techniques of teaching the literature in India, that we'll see. Now students, you can see that mainly this is the residue. English literature teaching is a residue of the English mind, because during the colonial time, yes, again it is getting problematic. Am I audible?
No. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, somebody has unmuted it herself or himself.
Oh, I thought somebody is saying something. Uh, because it disturbs disturbs the flow completely of my teaching. Anyway, so where I was, yes. So you see that the whole British literature, and the and the representation of the British culture, British society, British lifestyle came to India through English literature during colonial times. Okay, got it. Now what happened? As it got went on and on in our country, we very broadly divided our syllabus, and till recently many education policies came. But if you see in English literature, major part of our studies is British literature. Have you observed that? Many units, many blocks of your syllabus is diverted to British literature only. Chaucer period, Shakespeare period, isn't it? Dryden and Pope. So those things are repeatedly taught on and on each year, and I think 60 to 70% probably we have British literature in our syllabus, isn't it? But recently, as far as I know, and as far as syllabus preparations are concerned, nowadays, this new education policy is asking us to make it more Indianized. Okay, even though we'll be teaching English literature, why not more about Indian literature, Indian English literature? So many books have been written, quality productions have been done. Okay, even Western readers are reading us. So why not lay emphasis more on our own Indian literature? So I think okay, this is what I personally feel. I think that in the coming years you will see English literature getting more Indianized. So as far as I know, there are maximum blocks on British literature, and a few papers are there, one two paper like that on on whole European literature. Then there's world literature, and then Indian literature, and American literature is there. So only these literatures are there, and where Indian literature gets a very small space. So and the bigger space till today is taken by British literature. So gradually you will see that with this NEP coming around, you will see most probably that our English literature will get more of Indian studies. I think that is a welcoming change will be happening to us, and especially probably for teachers like us who specialize in Indian English literature, maybe it will help us to a large extent in order to teach and to get our students well versed with Indian literatures. Okay, this is teaching of English literature. Now, uh, wait, which one? Okay, now now gradually what is happening now, we are all Indian teachers, we are teaching British literature, and to some extent we teach from our location. Okay, and as students also you must have faced that learning English literature is little difficult because it talks about whole British culture, not our culture. So understanding that culture also takes time for us to observe. And also we usually hear that we Indian teachers of English, uh, we are a little bit bent towards our own culture, so that actually leads to a little confusion in learning of British literature in India. So anyway, still we are doing our best. Now, later what happened? Yes, initially we were, when our universities were established after independence, there were too many. I think more than what it is now. British literature was taught. Okay, but as I told you in my yesterday's class, that from 1980s and 90s, subaltern people came. Remember who are subalterns? The marginal people. Okay, the
Third
marginal.
people.
Sorry.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. I mean, sorry.
Okay. So, subalterns came. Subaltern means the marginal people. Marginal people means coming from the periphery of different society. Okay. So, when they emerged, yes, when these voices emerged, mainly the post colonial people. Okay. Now, they tried to bend that little bit of the academic discussion. They wanted to talk less about these British and American literature.
Ma'am,
They wanted, yes.
your voice is breaking again. Your voice is breaking again.
Yeah, even your voice is breaking. Okay, just give me 1 minute. I will try to change the internet setting of my phone. Just hold on. I don't know why this disturbance is going on, and if ever I get disconnected, I will connect once again.
But ma'am, I think there is a network glitch from their end only because I am audible.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
you are
You
also
are audible.
clear to me. Okay,
But
then
ma'am, you
is it
are
the?
audible.
Tell me.
I think there is a network issue from their end only.
Maybe then I don't know what to do with this. Now, learners, I think there's problem at your end because I'm audible to few and I'm not properly audible to the other few. So just try to bear. But still, if I'm not audible to all of you, then let me know. Or if I'm not able to get you, then message me here only in the chat box. I'll try to see what to be done. Okay. Uh, yes. So let me continue. This is actually breaking the whole. Okay, now this subaltern class, they are not
Means
only
suppressed
Indian.
class. Yes, ma'am.
Subaltern means suppressed class,
subaltern,
na?
yes, doesn't, yes, suppressed class, marginal class. Now, not only Indian, but marginal class from every section of the globe. Okay, just like yesterday, I was telling you, na, first world, second world, third world. So the feeling of a person in first world might be of third world. Okay, so there are margins in every society, right or wrong? Almost every society. Okay, now this subaltern voice, they started imposing their thoughts in the academia. Is that why only British? Okay, why only this European? Why not from those places which are a little bit behind? Like there are Hispanics in part of America. Why don't you read about them? Hispanics. Why not the tribal, and what do they say? Uh, Aboriginal tribes. Okay. Mm, why not the caste people in India? Why not the feminist of different parts of the continent? So these are the subaltern voices. So they started claiming their literature into the academia, and gradually post-colonial. See, we should be thankful to this post-colonial studies. Post-colonial studies, it included all these marginal identities. Okay, and only through with the help of post-colonial studies we are able to read so many marginal people, so many marginal identities. Okay, and to a large extent we are also able to connect ourselves to them. All right, so we said that why only study Shakespeare, Milton, only they are universalized. Okay, aren't there issues of others? Now we cannot connect ourselves to Shakespeare. What do you say about British said no about the universal approach or universality of British studies? Okay, but the subaltern group, they said that no, we cannot connect ourselves to Shakespeare. Shakespeare talks about kings and emperors and rulers. We are simple people. Who is going to address us? So one branch of study has to be introduced that talks about these marginal issues under the umbrella of post-colonial studies. Post-colonial studies accepted it, but this is actually the subaltern studies. Okay, so uh, we teachers again, after reading vigorously Shakespeare, Milton, reading night after night, struggling, breaking our heads how to teach, take the class tomorrow, how to teach Paradise Lost. Now, after reading and after breaking our heads, again we have to break our heads to understand subaltern culture. But I think that subaltern culture is easier for us to understand than Shakespeare or Milton, because to some extent we can connect with them with the subaltern lives. Okay. Uh, so now again you can see, yesterday I told you that English gradually got mixed up with social sciences. So when we were studying only things limited to this British literature, we were confined only there to their culture, to their thoughts, to their historical movements. But now when we read about our country, Indian literature in English, okay, then we got entangled with English, to locate English in India from the historical, from the cultural context. Like when I taught you how English came to India, I gave the whole historical and cultural background. Okay, so we started studying about our background, how English came to India, how it assimilated in India, and now how we produced our literature in India, which replicates typically our culture, our lifestyle, our society. Okay, so now we teachers of English, we are also teaching our Indian literature. Maybe the language is English, but now we are teaching our literature. We are teaching from our location. We are teaching from our perspective. We are teaching from our point of view. Okay, so now this became a very interesting part of our studies for us. Okay, so maybe other people might be people of other countries might be studying it. They might be now, suppose British people, they also have Indian studies, okay, post-colonial studies. So now they'll be breaking their heads in order to understand our culture. But now we are happy, okay, we are proud that, not only in our country, when we are going abroad, we are taking invited classes there. Now we are representing our culture. Okay, we are also showing how we were once pushed back. Okay, how once our languages were given a backbench. Okay, so now we are open, we are free to speak about those things. Okay, with the full freedom of expressing our intellectuality. Now we are able to say, we are able to speak how we Indians were suppressed at what time, and how we were called barbarians when we already had a big bulk of literature. Yeah, I got disconnected. I don't know how. Yes, now we are representing our culture. We are studying our own literature gradually. So, it took long, long years to shape not only not only the politics of involved in literature, studying of English literature, but also the production also of substantial material that will, exactly replicate our culture, our tradition, our thoughts. Okay. Now moving on. So, initially developing this, bulky part of literature was very difficult. And you can say that ours is a broad country, in different parts, different regions, literature are being written. And also, you cannot deny the fact that, literally also, uh, literally means through literature, we are, in the field of literature, we are rich. Maybe we don't have a written literature, maybe we have so many multiple oral literatures also. Like, suppose, for example, when you were a small child, you were told stories by your grandma. Okay, grandma stories. And there are many stories you will not find in any book. Despite the fact that they are very interesting, you won't find it anywhere. Why? Because it has passed on from generation to generation orally. Okay, there is not a written subscription yet. So, we people, we Indians are very much rich in storytelling. Okay, take centuries back literature, Mahabharat, Ramayana. Okay, so how rich they are. Okay, if you can, that's a mythology, but if you take the storyline, it is so intriguing, it is so interesting, and it is so much even, valuable till today, till our modern lifestyle. So we are rich storytellers, no doubt. Okay, but we were silenced for so many years. So many invasions, so many dominations have silenced our voices. Okay, so to bring all these literatures, and for many people this, they help us to convert those oral literature into written literature. So with the help of so many contributors, literary figures, critics, now we have got our own Indian studies of English. Okay, our own literature we have already formed. So we can say that after so many years of struggle, now we are successful to represent our culture, our heritage, our history. Okay, so not only me, I do this, you people also have to make English learning as your vehicle to transmit, to transform your Indian identity, your rich ideology, your rich culture. Go to different countries, go to different places. Just tell them what you are made up of. Okay, so when I go to, I also move to different countries abroad also, for invited teachings and for invited lectures, for conferences. What I do, I purposefully prepare a paper for presentation on Indian literature only, so that let them read, let them understand, okay, let them feel what our country is and what was made out of our country years back due to colonial suppression. Okay, so this is our responsibility now. So instead of showing ourselves as English teachers with full of air and pride, let us transmit our culture, our ideology through our English studies of India. Okay. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Very good. So you can feel now that I'm trying to make a winding up study not only of this unit I'm explaining, but also you can feel that if you're able to connect all my classes, you will be seeing that I'm covering everything once again for you, which will help you and remember what you have done in all these classes. And please go through your materials, make it very thorough and do very well in your exams. And as a specialty, if you want to take up in future, if you want to study more, take English, Indian English. Do not go for any other British or American or any other English. Stay to your roots. Okay. Now, okay, here now, in this your material, now it is trying actually, this is you people in IGNOU, you are studying for multiple purposes. Many of you are English teachers, proper teachers. Many of you are into, those marketing jobs. So here, in your, in your material, it talks about varied job opportunities, not only in India but abroad also. It's talking about this job marketing. Okay, when you are into marketing jobs, and how this English literature is going to benefit you, how in a better way you understand things, how you can improve your attitude, your outlook towards Indians, and maybe if you go out, how better you will be able to represent your culture if you are a student of Indian English literature, is shown in this particular section of your material. Okay, but overall, it is focusing a lot on teaching and learning English in India. Okay, it says that you have to have lots of strategies when you are standing before your students teaching Indian English to those students. Okay, so you have to have a very deep and proper understanding of the historical, the cultural um, aspects that has sharpened the English studies in India. Okay, so many things I've already told you. So those things, like in my first class, I told you those 4 phases of the absorption, of the process of absorption of English in India. You have to remember it. Okay, so that is very important. When you are into your teaching and you're standing and speaking about Indian English, those things you have to say. So those are the main historical and cultural background information that you have to give, so that your students could link it. If you are a student learning, okay, then understand that properly, because that forms the bedrock of your whole understanding of Indian English. Okay, and the survival of English in India. Okay, now Yeah, it is getting disconnected time and again. So where I was? Yes, about the teaching of English in India, and how you have to prepare yourself when you are trying to teach English in India. Okay, so you can see here is that uh, days back you were discussing about English. Somebody said no English, and and the proper English we were discussing. So it is given in your material also. English and Queen's English. Now Queen's English means very much, very much the cream English, very much elite English. Okay, the kind of English that comes from the natives of English speaking countries. Okay, English is what we are speaking. You can say that now at the time when I'm teaching you that English, because maybe my language is English for teaching, but my pronunciation, my accent is French. So it's not English, but it you may say English. This of in uh, you call, and the language that I'm using is English. So this is not we say that we don't that our Indian accent. In Indian accent, we are using uh, English language. Okay, and I think I've already told you that once I did a
Yourself.
lot of sorry.
Ma'am, this English and the
Hmm?
can you repeat yourself the Queen's English and the
Yes, Queen's
Eng-
English means the refined English, the English of the natives. Okay, Queen usually means Queen Elizabeth, the most powerful queen ever existed in England. Okay, and it was only Queen Elizabeth. I was telling you in my earlier classes, Queen Elizabeth was the ruler who taught nationalism, importance of language. She was the one who sensitized British people about their own nation. Before, prior to that, they were fighting only in the name of caste and religion. Caste actually means Protestant and Catholic. They were two sects, not class. Sects, SECTS. They were divided into two sects, Protestant and Catholic. They were fighting, and there was frequent bloodshed. Okay. So fight? No, they also had lot of bloodshed. Okay. Uh, as far as the language is concerned, Queen English means the most refined English. Okay, of the natives. Got it. And English is what we are speaking. You may say that I am speaking in English, Hinglish means maybe the language that I'm using is okay. So English may mean my language when I'm teaching you. Suppose I'm speaking in English, but my accent is Indian. Okay, so that we call English, or the mixing up of Hindi language with English. Okay, we are using that while teaching also. Um, so that gives us the mixture of Indian and English language. Okay, and that also you can say becomes Indian English. Okay, the representation of English in Indian way. All right. Now you have to understand that maybe we are teaching Indian English, but whenever you are teaching, please do remember that you cannot teach Indian English only only the literature or the different genres. But when you are teaching, be very clear, or when you are studying also Indian English, be very clear with the historical background. Please read it very well, how this whole process evolved. Okay, and how English was treated in different times, in different phases of Indian political developments. Okay, and how
at one point of time, English was very much considered of value by the university academics. Okay, and even though British went away, but that English literature persisted in our particularly universities. Okay, and then you can read about 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 the discussion and about the debate still going on about the privileges of learning English in post-colonial Indian culture. Okay, and this still we are biased, about learning English. We think ourselves superior if we are well read in English. Then we should, go back to our roots and see who we are actually. Okay, and instead of bias, let us study English so that we spread our culture, our heritage, okay, in a global language, the global leaders and to the global. Okay, match language like language of Eastern people. We have to, impose the importance of Sanskrit and Hindi or our local vernacular languages to our students. Okay, so when we are studying English, we might have the aim also that we'll be speaking about these facts to certain class, certain section of our society. Okay, so uh, you know, uh, uh, yes, sorry, who's this? Maitri. Yes, I think Maitri, there's some problem with your connection because your what you're saying is not properly audible. Maitri, you're saying something?
No, madam.
Okay, okay. No, your mic was turned on, so I thought you're saying something. Okay.
Can you explain again about the concept of subaltern theory? Because I don't think that we have that much in our syllabus.
You don't have many. I have read a lot about this, no. So, but you have to few lines are there. I was going through. Okay, subaltern actually means the marginal people. Okay, now you must be pondering that where were these people during colonial times? Okay, where were these people? Okay, why they were silent? Am I right, Shivani? That where were these people, marginal people?
Okay,
Okay,
it means
well,
that the people who were not talking about themselves and like they
themselves,
were on the border.
who are they? If you see certain parts of America, I think South or North America, Hispanics, there are certain category of people. Okay, Hispanics, or you can say red Indians. Okay, or you can say the tribal people, the aboriginal people of Australia. Okay, aboriginal means tribal people. So these are all huge, group of marginal people, isn't it? Or you can say caste, low caste people of our country. So you will say during colonial time where they were. Okay.
It means, ma'am, we are not having a lot of reading about them. That's why we are targeting.
No,
By
no, no. We did not have reading, and they also did not have that education, no.
okay, and no
Okay.
one have written about themselves.
Yes, now you got it. So when was it written? Mostly during post-colonial period. When it started mainly from 1970s. Okay, mainly 1970s. Where was feminist studies? Who was very few, though very few people were writing. Virginia Woolf and those people.
they were writing, but they were very handful. Okay, but a wave of feminist writing came from 1970 and onwards. Okay, so you will ask a question: where were these subaltern people then? Okay, where were these women? Number one, they were not, these marginal people. Not only you can say about those British people during Victorian age, they also had that class division. Only upper class will get the privilege of education, lower class will not get. Initially, it was like that, no. So, uh, where I was, what I was saying. So, okay, there was silence. So, no, everywhere in the globe, mostly education was confined to the high class society. Okay, understand? And lower class did not have proper education. Up mainly, it happened. This class stratification started in Britain. Okay, so there also you will say there was a marginal class, the lower class that you might have read in Great Expectation. Many other 18th century novels, they talk about this class stratification and not getting proper scope to study. That also you will find. Okay. Now, one thing. Secondly, if they had the literature, it was mainly oral. That's what I was telling you. They passed it orally. Your grandmother said the story which you have never read in nowhere. You cannot find it anywhere. Okay, so that was passed on orally. There was no written subscription. Okay, so we couldn't know that those subalterns were also had some literary taste. We could not know. Then, if they had, suppose like our country, we did not have much that kind of what they say class division or those things in our old times. Okay, but we had our writing in our own regional languages. Who will read? Nobody could read. Nobody could understand. It was written in Sanskrit, in Prakrit, in Hindui, in Urdu. Who will read? Okay, so for long, long years, our marginal voices were silent. But with the boom in post-colonial theories, okay, mm, quickly many translations were done. Even our Vedas and our Upanishads got translated. Mahabharata, Ramayana got translated. Then we saw we have so many interpretations also of Ramayana, particularly. Okay, when we started translating them, so these subalterns mainly emerged from the late 20th century. Now we started hearing their voice. So suppose you heard from your grandma some old tale, what you thought that I have never heard this is nowhere to be found. So you now, belonging to 1970s or 1980s, you wrote that story which your grandma is telling orally and you published it. Now, when you are educated, your grandma is not, you are able to produce that literature. Whereas when your grandma had that orally passed, but she could not produce because lack of education. Now you got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I
Okay. Okay. So I can say all this in at length with you because I have my expertise in this area. Anyway, so we as people of English literature, what I was telling, we should, instead of posting ourselves for studying and having good idea of English language and literature, we should encourage our own Indian languages also. Okay. Uh, so instead of getting ourselves isolated, we should try to, bring the whole society under some equal context. Okay, some equal thoughts. All right. Is that all right with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
yes.
So we have to shed off our thought of elitism. But if you're day and night, if you're studying those elitist texts, some kind of elitism will come into your personality. But still, as far as possible, try to shed off those elitism kind of feeling. of being students of English literature. Okay, but you try to go out to the world, to other students, try to interact with them about very different things, because now you are, if you are reading English literature, Indian English literature, you are very well versed with the society, you understand certain politics of power going on. Okay, um, and try to bring in certain policies that will help expand our Indian English canon. Okay, we can opt for interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary studies, because we people have the knowledge of the whole world and their literatures. So we can have a broader idea than any other person from any other stream of studies. So in a way, still you are privileged. Try to utilize your privileges, okay, in a very positive way, by opening discussion and debates from different platforms and different points of view. All right, so you already have got a rich legacy. Okay, such rich legacy that even leaders like Gandhi and Nehru, they have spoken about Indian English. Okay, so you are the carriers of that legacy. So if you are a teacher in English, then you have to inculcate in the students certain things, and you also have to observe what are you doing in the class. Okay, if you are an English teacher, be very careful with this, that what are you teaching in the class. Okay, what is your focus? Are you simply passing on that so-called blind elitism, or really you are giving culture, thoughts to your students? Okay, and when you are holding a text, see what it is trying to say, a morality, or cultural importance, or some ethics, what it is saying. Try to focus on that and develop your thoughts and arguments in correspondence with your students. Okay, and always observe who you are teaching. So you have to decide your level according to that. Okay, so you are PG student, so if I go to the highest level of teaching, you will understand, you will grasp, because you are already too qualified, you are PG students now, so no difficulty for me. But suppose tomorrow morning I am going, or today after this class I am going and teaching my kid who's studying in standard 4. I have to teach him some minor part of grammar, say for example verb and noun. So again I'll have to go down to his level. Okay, so that he understands best. If I teach him in my level, he won't be able to understand. So always be very careful who you are teaching, and who, not only the age, but what kind of uh, you know uh, classroom it is. Is it multicultural, or is it a homogeneous classroom, or the other people from different language backgrounds. You have to observe that, from which culture they belong. Okay, and teach in such a way which will suit everyone's purpose. Okay, be very universal in your approach, don't be partial, and be very thorough with what you are going to teach, what will be the residue of your teaching. Okay, how will students gain through your teaching. Always keep these things in your mind. Okay, and if you're teaching Indian English in literature, English literature in India, so you have to be not only masters in many other aspects of Indian culture, Indian history, production of Indian English, but also you have to be very much rooted to your culture, to your thoughts. So always tell the students, despite the fact that you are teaching English, but you are rooted to your culture. You are teaching, maybe you are teaching British literature, but you are teaching from your viewpoint. It is yours. Okay, so make your stand very firm whenever you are teaching, and always be self reflexive. Think, reflect. Okay, you're reading certain text. After reading that, take time to think, to ponder. Okay, before going into the class, make your own notes. Okay, find out the canons, try to find out the canons by yourself. Okay, then give those inputs to your students. Okay, whatever you teach, you are teaching from your standpoints. Okay. And what is going, why, what is the focus, why do you teach English literature in India? So why are you teaching, for what purpose? Firstly, through teaching literature also, to a large extent, we are teaching the language. Our language also develop with the help of literature. Okay, so when you are teaching in a lower, suppose primary or intermediate classes, try to be careful with the language also, because whatever you are speaking, your students are learning. Okay, with their eyes closed, full confidence on you, they are listening from you. Okay, so be careful how you speak. However you speak, your students will imitate. Okay, so your teaching style and your teaching methods will develop from level to level, change from a level to different level. And when you are teaching literature in a little higher classes, okay, as I told you, your focus should be to spread certain ideologies, certain thoughts. Okay, you are the most ethically high people. Okay, you are teaching above everything, you are teaching ethics, you are teaching harmony, you are teaching peace, because you have already read literature from around the world. So you are teaching ethics, you are teaching values, you are teaching harmony, you are teaching peace. Okay, you are making them understand how violence is disastrous, how harmony is very much needed, not only in our human environment, but also in the natural environment. We are the ones who are disturbing the whole ecology of our existence. So how we have to work on that, that is your responsibility, to give that awareness to your students. Okay, so we see that we as English teachers, we are carrying the rich legacy of our past, which although start with the British, but it was very well carried up till today by Indians. Okay, and we have so many literary texts that talk about our culture, our thoughts. Okay, now we have already developed our own body of representation of culture, of thoughts, of ideas. Okay, wait, just missed where I was. Just hold up. Just hold on. Mm. So we have the we are carrying up the whole rich legacy of Indian English writing. So for us, teaching English is sometimes very enterprising, very difficult for us. So many challenges there are for us in our class if we go and face our students of whichever age group they belong, but we have to face a certain amount of challenge. So you can consider that English is not an empowered language, but English is a language of empowerment. Okay, because it is a global language, and if you want to carry your tradition, your thoughts, your culture to the outer world, then you have to be well versed in English. You have to be a confident speaker of English. Okay, and when you read English, when you understand Indian English, particularly in India, okay, then you are understanding race, you are understanding class, you are understanding gender, you are understanding identity, language, the whole employment process, you are understanding power also. Okay, so now when you are a student of English literature, means you are an all rounder. You are understanding things from multiple points of view. Okay, you have got a broad thought process. All right. So when you, it is your responsibility to aspire others, to make others understand the value of your subject that you have taken up. Okay, and contemporary theories are coming. Uh, like I told you, contemporary feminist theories, postmodernist theories, eco-critical studies. These have to be introduced properly in our classrooms if you are teaching in higher levels. Okay, and if you're studying as students, then you have to understand them very nicely so that you can understand how canons are formed and how canons develop. Okay, so we still need to be very collaborative. We have to join hands in hand in order to develop ourselves as teachers, as students of English literature. Okay, and we should discuss English literature from varied multiple points of view. Okay, so that our students understand that that literature is not read and understood from single perspective. There are different perspective to deal with. Okay, this is what our students should learn. They should learn to scan through the book. Okay, and I think we are up. Okay, I think I have covered everything, students, with your course. Yes, same thing is repeated again. Okay, any questions that is raised here that you want to discuss? Actually, I've completed with the task, and if I go more, then I'll be repeating things again and again and again. Um, Tell me if you have anything else to discuss about, students. Anyone?
No, no, ma'am, no questions. Thank you, ma'am.
But have you understood things properly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then, when you open up your materials, first be very thorough with those four phases, because I think you must have already seen that that broader understanding of that only will help you move on with whatever we have been doing all these days. Okay, then be careful with how Mahatma Gandhi and Nehru initiated the debate on English studies in India, what Macaulay had done and what Gandhi and Nehru did. Okay, then how canons were set, how Gandhi and Nehru had the contribution in setting up the canons, and then how it went on and on and on till the post colonial times. That included Indian feminist studies and Indian Dalit studies. Okay, that you have to study carefully. Then about this teaching of English in India, how you have to teach, how you have to deal with it. Okay, you have to shed off your elitist feeling as far as possible, because you are studying English, so that elitist feeling will come simultaneously. So you have to try your best to shed it off, and before entering the class or before entering your society. Don't boast too much, and take English as your weapon to spread your culture, your heritage, your tradition among everybody. So that try to spread peace, harmony, equality wherever you go. Is that all I have to tell you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then, students, I will take your leave. All right. I hope you enjoyed all these 5, 6, 7 days of classes or 8 days of classes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And now, immediately, if you go into your materials, you'll be able to find everything that I taught you, because I substantially referred to your materials only. They're very well written, very well explained. Okay, if you read those books only, there's no need for you to go anywhere. Read them very carefully. And I also thank you all, because you were very disciplined, you were very interactive in your classes, almost all of you. And you are keen listeners, I must say. Um, so I bid you my farewell. Do very well in your exams. Do very well in your life. Tomorrow, who's going to take your class? Have any idea?
MEG 7 and MEG 14 class will be there tomorrow.
Okay, who is taking? You have any idea? Do you'll have two classes tomorrow?
Yes,
Means
ma'am.
4 hours. 4 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God. Okay then.
College, Delhi.
Daily
Can you
4.
please send me the link? Can you please send me the link of MEG-7 and timing?
No, no, that your people at the office will do that for you. I have no idea.
Can you, madam, share your number, please?
You may ask that in that to your office. Okay.
Madam, Moiti
Hmm.
speaking. Can you share your number, please?
You just get that from your IGNU office. They'll give you. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank
Ma'am,
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
I have
ma'am.
some
will
Thank
you
you.
please,
I have some
ma'am?
problem. I can I ask you in WhatsApp? So I need your number.
No, that's okay. But you better you ask in your office because I'm connected to IGNU directly. Okay. So ask them. I think they
Okay.
can help you with that.
Thank you.
I have no
Thank
problem.
you. Thank you very
Uh,
much.
Ma'am,
yes.
which type of question will
I told you. No, I told
and
you. I already told you so many times. Uh, read about how canon is set. Okay, canonical studies in India, how it was said. Then uh, how how English started. Those four levels that I taught you, the four ages, and how English came. That question related to that might come. Okay, and then English teaching in English, yes, teaching in India, tele also, teaching of English literature in India, problems of teaching English literature in India, okay, objectives of teaching English in India. These type of questions will come. I think you have questions after each section. Just go through them. They are important for you.
ma'am, shall we get long question or short question? I was asking that.
I think you will get both. Okay, some few marks short answers, few marks long answers, probably like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you for being good listeners. Thank you for good interactions. I really enjoyed classes with you. Okay.
Me too,
Um,
inside.
Thank you, ma'am.
thank
Thank
you,
you, ma'am.
everyone.
Mm,
Thank you, ma'am.
I mean, you are also good teacher for us.
Thank you so much, Asha. Thank you. I take your leave.
Shabby madam. Shabby ma'am. Shabby ma'am.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Send the link for class tomorrow.
According to my schedule, there will be no class for tomorrow.
Yes, yes, I was also saying that there is no class for us uh, on that
There
schedule that mentioned on May
there will be no
2nd
class for second Sunday.
for MAG 14, right na?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
हाँ.
M 5 or 7 class हो गया
Who
है.
said that? Who said that MAG 7 and 14 is going to held on tomorrow?
MEG-7 is already done.
Yes, I was saying that MAG 5 and 7 already done.
हाँ, वो तो हो गया था.
Not well tomorrow, but 2nd of May we will get the MAG
हाँ,
14 classes.
ଆଜ୍ଞା. ଟାଇମ୍ ସିଡ୍ୟୁଲ୍ ଯୋଉ ପଠେଇଥିଲେ ସେଇଥିରେ ଅଛି ନା? ହ୍ୟାଲୋ.
26 Jain, ma'am.
हाँ जी.
Are you from Odisha, na?
No, 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 I am not.
Then where are you from?
I am from Delhi.
दिल्ली. हम पूछ रहे थे कि जो क्वेश्चन आने वाला है, हम मैम से भी पूछे, वो बोले कि लॉन्ग और शॉर्ट क्वेश्चन आने वाला है। तो जो शॉर्ट क्वेश्चन आने वाला है वो 3-2 मार्क्स का भी आने वाला है क्या? क्या आप
No,
जानती
no,
है इस
no,
बारे
no.
में?
No,
नहीं,
no. Short questions will be of 5 marks.
5 मैथ्स का.
अच्छा,
4 क्वेश्चन आएगा,
That
20
will
मार्क्स.
be that will be in the form of वो short note.
जिस तरह हम जो ये हुए थे ना, असाइनमेंट सबमिट किए थे ना, उसी तरह क्वेश्चन आएगा। 20 मार्क्स का
Yes,
आएगा
yes,
और
yes.
5 मार्क्स का आएगा। 20 मार्क्स का 4 क्वेश्चन आएगा और 5 मार्क्स का 4 क्वेश्चन आएगा। 100 मार्क्स को टोटल।
इतने सारे ब्लॉग्स है, इतने सारे ब्लॉग्स में से हमको 5 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन निकालने में मुश्किल होगा, यही पूछ रहे थे उन्हें
No, no, no.
कैसे
Actually,
अरेंजमेंट किया जाए।
there will be one question which have 4 parts of five marks.
हाँ,
बट I can't get.
There will be one question which is of 4 parts, and each part contains 5 marks.
Uh, uh, for the all blocks.
No, no, no. There will be only one question like that. The paper will be
With
of
5 marks
100 marks.
content.
The paper will be of 100 marks. One question, 20 marks each. One question.
Yes, I got it. I was saying in the long book we got to five. I mean short question. How will we find in this book short question? Uh, Thank you. Who is
It will
that?
be like
So
a short note. You can open the assignment question paper.
yes, I already read that.
So it will be like 4 parts, 5 marks each.
All students are from Odisha or any other states also. Uh, क्या लिखा है इसमें? कुछ लिखा है हम समझ में नहीं आ रहा है। इंग्लिश तो नहीं है, ये क्या है? कौन सा लैंग्वेज में लिखा है इधर? Someone is there.
Sorry, can you repeat it again?
May I know who is this?
Should I leave now or anyone else anything?